two kids from Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now, joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
What's poppin', what's poppin', what's poppin'? Welcome to Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose.
What up, yo?
And, yo, first off, shout out to everybody who did the birthday shout outs to me. I wanted to put that out there first and foremost. Thank you. Second, share. And as y'all can see in the pin post, if you get any kind of value from this, send some stars. But Moose, how you feeling?
Pretty good. Been working really hard as of late. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
It's the grind has been real, but I'm grateful for it. And more importantly, though, tell us how your birthday was. How was the birthday?
The birthday was different. I did exactly what I wanted to do, which was chill with the people who are part of the text gang, and I went live. That's all I really wanted to do. Just stay in my little digital bubble, you know, and keep it moving. That's it.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple. Rocking out in the new chair, you know,
keeping
it
really relax.
I love it.
Really relax.
I love it.
But
I love it.
Moose, who we talking about today?
Man, none other than Elon Musk. Elon Musk, yo. Tech entrepreneur, engineer, philanthropist, inventor. There's many interesting titles with this guy.
Okay.
But he has a long resume, real interesting experience in life story that I'm excited to tackle into today. And just for my pilots out there, you know, we're gonna, of course, try and detect what his highest letter or character is, coming in at a net worth of $70 billion with a B.
Let that rock.
Keep that going. Yeah, keep that going. This is like the highest net worth on the show so far. This is the highest one.
Before you get into anything more, let's just go into the intro. Sheesh. Give some air horns.
Crazy.
Give some air horns, you know what I mean? Look.
Crazy.
So where we starting? What we doing?
Well, before we get started, just and you probably have a closer look at the chat than I do, but let's start as we normally would with the flight assessment. All right, let us know, what character do you think Elon Musk is, right? Today's going to be a little bit different. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. This is leaning more towards the business side than it is towards the branding, but it has a lot of things that we can pull from both elements, right? I think the unique approach about today's episode, when you break someone who doesn't necessarily care to be out in the limelight, he's not trying to monetize his personality or his talent per se. What he's doing is coming up with radical ideas and transforming them into products, right? So for those out there who are like, man, you know what? A lot of the people that have been covered on the show so far, I've learned from, I look up to, I think it's awesome, but I just don't see myself as that type of talent or that type of personality.
Right.
And this is an episode that you can probably pull from because it's going to show you how you can possibly use your information or your ideas to create a product that you can monetize. And we all heard QDZ, Quincy Harris, last week talk about the importance of having a product out there to get to that side of ownership. So let us know what you think so far. What are the people saying, Nikki? What are they saying? What do they think Elon is?
Hold on. We got, let me get rid of this real quick. We got pilot, ATC, we got flight attendant, air traffic controller, pilot, ATC. Look, I'm saying.
Yeah, that's different. Okay.
I don't know if I totally disagree with that. I'm just saying. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
I mean.
Okay. All right. So let me start right here, right? Homeboy, interesting childhood nonetheless, but I resonate with the story, right? Grew up in South Africa, left his family to go to college in Canada. Had a rough relationship with his father. He was often bullied and made fun of. So he just packed his bags. He flew to Canada so that he didn't have to join the army. So he had a couple brothers with him. Him and his brother ended up going to Canada for that. So let's cue that first video to see how he gets started.
Got an engineering and business degree from the University of Pennsylvania and a scholarship to go to Stanford. Silicon Valley was the promised land.
I really wanted to just kind of go where the really exciting breakthroughs were occurring.
Elon had this ability to look at the world and go, this is a real problem that's going to happen in 20 years.
He looked around and he saw that the world-changing stuff was not happening at Stanford.
So mind you, this is at the top of the internet era, right? This is like back in the day when people were rushing to find gold. This is what it's like for everyone to go to Silicon Valley because in their minds, the internet is the new gold mine, right? That's what everyone's thinking of. So he graduates with a degree and then gets a scholarship to go to Stanford, but he's going to Stanford not for Stanford. He's going to Stanford to be in Cali and close to Silicon Valley. He spends less than 2 days on campus, and my man said, this ain't it. And then phones one of the heads at the college and says, hey, I want to go out and start my first company. Can I come back? Long story short, he ends up leaving, launches his first company, which basically took the yellow book. And if you remember back in the day when you were to look up the directory, right, you didn't have Google or the internet to go up and say, restaurants near me. Everything was through the yellow book. That's how you found businesses. So his first idea, his first business was just going off of public need, simply taking the yellow book and transporting that information into code so that now media sites, New York Times, a few other big publications would have access to that information. And they started utilizing it as they was transferring to the internet space. Now, Nikki, one of the questions that I want to ask you, because again, for people who are listening to this, regardless of what stage your business is, I don't want you to race ahead and start thinking, oh, the billionaire. I want you to think about more so, where he was when he first started and what can I learn from what he did that's still relevant today. So for those who are specifically in the product-based business, do you think that aside from COVID-19, I know right now people are on lockdown, but COVID-19 aside, do you think it's still important for people who are launching a product-based business or pushing a product, hair product, beauty products, nutrition supplements, anything of that nature, to go to the big hub, to go to the Atlantas, to the New York Cities, to the LAs, so that they can get around a central location to really push their business? Or can they stay where they are, right? Like, again, he was South Africa, then Canada. Or can they stay where they are to make that launch? What is your, what do you think about that?
So I would definitely say I could see the benefits of both, right? I don't think it depends on the commitment level. That's what I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
I think for knowledge and on the job training, moving to the location where it's hot and everybody is talking about it, doing it, all that great stuff, I think there's a benefit for that. But to say that you have to do it that way, or for you to succeed, you have to move to like the hubs, not necessarily. We have the internet. So the internet can still allow us to be in a tunnel. As long as we have Wi-Fi, we can sell a product and a service, right? It's about networking within the internet means, right? Whereas, and I think it goes towards, are you an introvert or extrovert? Because an introvert can figure it out maybe on the internet more than an extrovert. Extrovert maybe feel like, yo, I need to be out in these streets. I need to connect with the people. I need to talk to them. I need to do this, that, and the third. And an introvert's like, yo, people are making it without going over here and there. I'm going to do it the same way. So
Yeah.
I think it just depends on who you are and what the product and service is. So like I know apps, you know, going to the tech hubs is important, right?
Right.
But to sit here and say that it's super needed, I don't know. I don't know about all that. That's what I'll say about that.
You know, I'm actually curious about this because I know you usually say that introverts might feel more comfortable building relationships or networking online. And from time to time, I still find it a little bit strange, like, you know, to maybe reach out with someone that I don't know or someone that I'm kind of like seeing what they're up to. And I'm like, man, this is really cool. What are some advice that you would give to somebody to kind of build a network online, given the circumstances right now, without feeling weird or without just going about it totally the wrong way, where you just kind of get left on red or on scene? It's like, yo, nah, I'm not messing with this person.
I think it's going where the people are hanging out. It's the same way as if it's in person, you know, what are the groups are they in? You know, what platforms are they on? How do you create that connection first before you going direct to them, right? Maybe for some people, they may have to hit the comments more and more, make a presence there, and have the influencer or the person they're trying to reach out see their name over and over again, and then when they see it in the DMs, be a little more acceptive of doing that, you know, of answering. Especially, you know, if we're talking about even with our own personal experiences, paying our way to network. So going into the paid communities, because now they start taking you a little bit serious. You're investing now money into them, right. And that takes it gives them a sense of, oh, you're a little bit more serious than just a free ride, you know. So paying your way to get noticed in the digital world is what helped, you know, is what got me where I'm at. So right. I see. That's why I always say, like, I think I'm like semi-introvert, but clearly that didn't pan out to be that way. It's the weirdest thing, because I promise you, I'd rather talk to you online than in the streets. But that's cool. All right, cool. Yeah.
It might be the lonely child in you, though. You know, like being the only child, it's like, we can be friends, but can we
yeah,
do it online?
I promise you. Like, text me.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to chill. Just text me. I'm cool.
The new vibe. No, I love that though. I think it makes a lot of sense. And you know, and like I said from the beginning, for those who are listening in with this one specifically, because it is business heavy, I want you to just kind of make the connection and let us really teach on this one, make the connections between Elon Musk. What we know about him is that he was an innovator. Like they said, you know, 2 days on campus on Stanford, he said, nope, this is not it. This is not where I think it's going to be 20 years from now. So he drops out and takes this path. So it you know, some of those things might be relevant to today's world, And as we're learning, I think a lot of people get caught up because they don't begin to personalize the information that they're hearing or that they're learning to their own unique experience and their talents. And this is kind of one of my favorite parts about the flight assessment, is that regardless of where you're going, what you're trying to build, or what are your challenges, by looking at your chart, we're able to take the strategies that you want to apply, but maybe make some adjustments so that they can tailor fit your style or how you're most equipped to execute on those ideas. So again, as you're listening on some of these points, really think about, how can I take some of what he's done or what, is being taught, and how can I adjust it, even if it's not perfectly into my world, but let me maybe open myself up to a little bit of risk. And that's definitely one of the things that we end up seeing. So Nicky, he goes out, does this first company with his brother. His brother is responsible for the sales side, and he focuses on the coding side.
Yep.
Right? Builds this website, super basic. Like at the time, they really doubted their ability to make it happen. Couple years into the business, they get acquired by Compaq. You remember Compaq?
Yep.
Old computer company?
Sure do.
Acquired by, that was actually my first computer. Side note there, just a little fun fact. First computer ever was a Compaq. And acquired for $307 million. Yeah, must be nice. Must be nice, right? 28 years old. His share of the acquisition is $22 million. Now, think about this for a moment. You get your first acquisition, your first big acquisition at Silicon Valley at 28 years old, and you're still not fulfilled. So they talk about with his story that he goes out, he gets like a nice fast car. He spends some time, because he was always into cars growing up, spends some time having a little bit of fun, but less than 10 months later, he's back in a new business and reinvests almost all of his money because he wasn't fulfilled. All right. So at this point, let's go ahead and go into that next video, and we'll kind of see what he did from there.
The goal in doing my second internet company was to create something that would have a profound effect. And it seems to me that the financial sector had not seen a lot of innovation on the internet. And money is really just an entry in a database. And it's low bandwidth. It seems like it's something that should lend itself to innovation.
He was very rich. I mean, just more money than most people could dream. And he took almost no time in between that sale and starting the company that became PayPal.
I was honestly amazed at that. It's like less than 10 months later, you're investing much of what you earn to go right back into business. And mind you, 22 million, it's not in today's world where we're like, oh, 22 million, that's not a lot. Like, we know our favorite athletes sometimes make more than that in a year.
Yep.
This is back in, before, I think it was even early 2000. So like 22 million back then, it can stretch a little bit. So what do you think about that? Just like, would you go back into the game that quickly after that big of a win?
You know what? I kind of would, just because it wasn't my money anyways. Like, that's how I feel about it. Like, I mean, I think he thought big picture. And he saw that one thing worked, and so let me do another thing. I didn't have this money before. Now I have it. Let me put it all up again, see if it works. I can't even be mad at that. Hopefully, he spent a little bit on himself, but we saw that it worked. So if he did, he didn't. Oh, well.
It's crazy because I feel like I'm the polar opposite. I'm more of the, and it's one of those things we talked about a couple of weeks ago, just like trying to get over that. It's like fighting for safety and security because stability can kind of lead you down the path of complacency really quick. Like before you know it, you're like, wait, the growth has stopped. What happened? Well, it's like you were fighting for that stabilizing environment, and that's what it is. But what I thought was interesting with this piece here is that he looked for a market space that was lacking innovation. Again, go back to the beginning of the internet era. He takes the business listings and transfers those online for at least the first version of what we see Google to be now today. But then he goes back in and he says, I didn't have the impact I wanted to have. Like, I want more impact, not money per se, but I want more impact. And he kind of surveys the markets of like, all right, what's lacking in innovation?
Right.
And he comes across the financial industry. Now, it's not mentioned in that clip, but he later collaborates with the company that we know as PayPal.
Yep.
And his strategy, two things that he focused on here, right? One thing, and this is kind of against what I believe because my personal experience taught me not to do this, but his strategy is to focus after one key player in the marketplace, which at the time was eBay. And if you remember back in those days, this is when people were just starting to sell product online. And this was a little bit uncomfortable. Like, wait, you're going to pay money and not have something that you walk out of the store with? Like, you're going to give your money to somebody and wait to get product. Like, think about it in that sense, right? Like, it's totally against what we're accustomed to back in the day. But he focuses on eBay to start giving that safety measure, or that measure of safety for both the seller and the buyer. And that ends up becoming one of his key players. When you look at today's world, right, like just from a business and branding standpoint, I don't know how easy it is to find some of those gaps or some of those things that haven't been done yet. But we hear CJ and you know, we followed his teaching quite a bit. He always talks about successes in the not doing. What are some of those things, you know, that maybe you're paying attention to right now, or that you're kind of like, you know, just watching, maybe not fully engaged in, but just watching and kind of saying like, okay, this might be one of the next new trends or things of that nature? Are there any concepts right now that come to mind that you're like, yo, this has potential? I'm not going to be an early adapter. I don't want to jump just yet, but there are some things that brands, product-based brands or businesses are not really capitalizing on yet that you feel there's a gap for, or an opportunity for someone to go out and make it happen. And if you don't want to share all of it because they got to cut a check, I understand that too. So we'll save. Let's give them a teaser. Give them a teaser.
So this is the thing. So I try not to be the future predictor kind of vibe, right? I'm more of I look at the different industries and I try to see what that industry is not necessarily doing, but kind of just surveying it, right? So looking at whether it is music, entertainment, authors, speakers, whatever it is, seeing what works for them, reading what works for them, but what's missing, right? For the most part, it's always the creativity and the virtual experience when it comes to COVID, right? So, like, one industry has the virtual experience on lock, right? That I would say that's the music industry at this moment, right? With the whole verses and stuff like that, the DJ Nice, D Nice, and all that stuff. They have the virtual experience on lock and has people's attentions, whereas all the other industries seem to almost take a little bit more time for that. Now they're getting more into the virtual conferences and events and everything like that, but there still isn't something on a day-to-day basis that makes you feel like you have a true experience as if you were outside. So I still think that's a little bit of a gap that's missing. Like feeling as if you did go into the store and you're surveying it and everything like that. There's a bunch of stuff, like you said, that's a whole nother conversation, but I feel like the virtual experience is still kind of more of a gap. And if they can integrate AR a little bit more during this COVID season, I think that would be a whole new level of situations. But
I like that, because I was just thinking about that. I was like, what does a product demo look like in a virtual world, right? Because again, we're focused, or at least trying to draw a parallel to those product-based businesses, or if you have an idea or information, right, and you're focused more so on monetizing through products. It's like, how do you do that? Like, you can't hand out samples right now per se, right? You can't do some of the stuff that you could do pre-COVID. So it's like, how do you do that? And you mentioned, is it AR or VR?
AR. So
Yeah, so it's like,
so like for example, sort of like this. So I like what the NBA is doing right now, right? I like how they have like their fans like pop up and waving and all that great stuff. Like, I want to know how to get into the seats of the fans and everything. But imagine if that was not just that one screen. You know, imagine if you had the experience where you could see it in your living room, not necessarily on the computer, but you see it right then and there. So there's an option of either being in the audience, seeing it like that, or that it's actually in your living room. The whole basketball court is up and down, and you can see it no matter what angle you hit. So I think that's what's missing as far as physical events. If they can figure out how to do AR like that, I think that would be fire.
wow. I geek out over this business stuff. So I'm going to ask a few more questions before we move on, just because I think it's cool to kind of, just share our ideas about how business is being done and how business can be done. What would you say is the balance of running the fundamental process, the day-to-day that keeps a business moving? What's the balance between doing that versus from time to time, like you said, kind of like peeking out like, oh, that's what's working in the music industry? How can I take a part of that and apply it? Because one of the things that I've noticed with Elon Musk, he's always pushing to do something that hasn't been done, right? Like, he's looking for, and we'll get to this a little bit later, but when he talks about the discovery with SpaceX, the reason why he said, I want to go to Mars and not just the moon, he said, well, in the 60s, we landed man on the moon. It's now 2000s, and there are no plans for us to push that agenda forward. So he's always looking for that innovation. So I guess I'm trying to ask, what's the balance between running the fundamentals, running the play, the day-to-day stuff, and then looking to innovate some way, somehow?
So I think it depends on the person. Right. I mean, if you look at it, Elon Musk, he was more in the innovation kind of vibe than necessarily the fundamentals, right? So if you look at, always bringing back up the Kanye's, more of the innovative, I'm gonna do it my way kind of vibes, and then the fundamentals. Now there's people who just deal with the fundamentals. I don't know. I think it's the matter of a team where you get that balance. I don't know if you are the balance, right? Like, you may have an understanding of the basics and innovation and stuff like that, but I still think to get to the next level, there has to be a person that just concentrates on the innovation and the ideas, and then there's a team that takes it back to the basics. I think we look at that with E all the time, where he doesn't necessarily think about the basics, right? He gets a reminder like, oh, okay, you're right. You know what? Let's bring that back. Let's bring that back. But he is always thinking of new ideas and new levels and everything like that, where he has a team that's like, okay, no, we have to continue to do this, continue to do that, and keep the growth going. Like, even with almost being super transparent, but I'm not going to, going into the meeting that we have tomorrow, I'm gonna be like, yo, I have to concentrate back on the growth status, because we're stagnant, because we're working too much on new stuff,
right?
So you have to have that team. So you have to figure out, are you the ideas person? Are you the innovative person? Or are you the basics, fundamentals kind of vibe? I would say, even for myself, like, I could think of new ideas all day, right? I have a mini balance of basics, but it's more of a, I'm always looking for the new stuff. I'm looking for how to grow here, there, and everywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's dope. I like that. I like that. Final part I want to cover with this one is just that uh, before he scales, because we know from PayPal, he gets that big acquisition. I don't think it's a secret at this point. He gets a big acquisition and really goes big. But one of the things that really helped him with running the PayPal company or that business was he got into this concept of paid ads or some level of referral marketing, right? So if you think about it, it's about understanding his customer acquisition price, right? That was one thing that he was big on. So he started seeing that, well, if I can give a bonus, whether it's $20, $10, $5, it's kind of what we know today as affiliate marketing,
Yeah.
and get someone to refer two of their friends. At one point, he was able to scale his business almost on a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every dollar he was putting out, he was getting back $2. And of course, you do that times a couple million people. He gained 5 million new customers in 5 months. So massively grew the business to get people on the platform. And I think it's a lot like, any new app or platform that comes out now, the popularity makes people feel safe. It's like, oh, you on that? Okay, I guess I'll make an account and I'll use it too.
Right.
And I'm not sure, how you feel about like paid media or putting some sort of promos behind, whether it be a product or a service that someone's doing, almost like with advertisement. But what's your take on that concept, right? Again, for somebody looking to scale, whether it be a product-based business, something like that, what's the importance? How do you kind of approach that conversation of, man, I'm about to put out money to acquire a customer?
I think it's needed for sure. With so many people out there and on different platforms and everything like that, these platforms are somewhat of a plug and play, right? So the people who get in front of you the most are normally the people who pay the most, right? A perfect example of that is, what's his name? The ClickFunnels guy, Richard Branson.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
One of the, Brunson or Branson, one of the two, right? He's big on ad spend because, and he learns from his competitors, where are you? I'm going to be there. Plus, I'm going to add like 10K more dollars than you, so I can show up more than you, right? So I think it's important if you, at a certain point when you strategize and you're at that level, I'm super big on using organic as much as you can and then getting to that point, because I feel as if your tribe can carry you the most of the way. But there is going to be a level where you're like, okay, the tribe is only doing so much, or I need to be out front during this season. So affiliate links and paid ads are almost a must when it comes to online advertisement at this time.
Fire. Well, those two things, right? We talked about eBay, focusing on that customer acquisition, gets him finally acquired by who? None other than eBay for $1.5 billion, where his share is another 150 million.
I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Sheesh.
Disgusting. Yeah, disgusting. But running that same model, right? So again, for those in a product-based system, right? Like you can just focus on, and I don't know, again, me personally, this is where I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I'm no longer a fan of dedicating all of your effort and energy to just one platform, one customer base, because if anything happens with that platform or that customer base, you have no business. Period, point blank. That's the reality of the situation. And that's what's happened for a lot of business here during the COVID pandemic. It's because of that situation, right? But that other concept is focusing on the customer. And this is something that we see that he pulls back out at a later time to really catapult some of his relationships with customers, right? Focusing on the customer. But of course, he takes the money, starts SpaceX, right? And we talked about, again, always looking for what's next, not really satisfied, and always looking for this maximum impact. You know, and as I mentioned earlier, this whole concept where he went, how did he get into this industry? He went on NASA's website and he checked to see if they had any plans to go to Mars. Like, I know this sounds crazy, but literally that's what he was looking at. He was like, well, NASA's technically my competitor, right? Because this is who I want to, maybe the space that I want to be in. This is technically my competitor. Let me see what type of plans they have in place to do this thing that I want to do. And when he saw that they had no plans to go to Mars, he decided to start SpaceX, took a bunch of his money there to start that company and really took off running. Now, at this time, he goes crazy, right? He gives his some of his family members, he introduces them to solar energy. So shout out to Josh and Harbor Solar, but he also got in that industry at the same time and started launching that business, gave the company to his family members. That was making money, took more of his money, got into Tesla, and he was an investor in Tesla and started getting involved with the operations there. So now he's really having like multiple things in place, right? Really growing at this point. But he runs into failure. And it's like, this is the first time that after all this massive success, right? 2 acquisitions, star entrepreneur, he's doing his thing. He runs into some trouble. So let's go to that third video for a moment and see how he responds.
Tesla was on the verge of financial disaster.
I had to make a choice then that either I took all of the capital that I had left from the sale of PayPal to eBay and invest that in Tesla, or Tesla would die.
The company is really teetering on the brink of failure. And there's this board meeting late in 2008 where they're discussing what's going to happen. And Elon just says, well, I'm going to raise a $40 million round to keep the company going. And the board members are kind of wondering, well, how's he going to do that? And he says, I'm going to put it all in myself.
And that incredible braggadocio confidence catalyzed a change in people's opinion. And we and everyone else around the table was like, oh my gosh, we want to be part of this. We want to get as much of this investment as we can.
First off, let me say that that is a level of commitment that some people will overlook, right? Maybe just because of the amount of money it was or whatever, but like if you're not putting your all, whether it's money, commitment, whatever it is, how do you expect other people to believe you? Like at the end of that clip, the investors was like, oh, well, even though the stats say this is failing, I'm gonna stay right here because that gave them a boost of confidence. If I'm going to put all this money into it, I don't need other investors. I'm going to do it. That shows that no matter what, this is going to be successful, right? And there's a lot of people, I feel, as if, they but they're looking for investors, they're looking for other people to carry them. Believe in my dreams, but what have you put up? What have you done? Like, what have you sacrificed? He sacrificed. Now, some people will be like, he had all this money. I mean, I don't have a dime. It's not always about money. Sometimes it's about time. Sometimes it's about giving up some of the stuff that you already have. So it's like, what is the sacrifice that you're giving towards your business? Like, is there a level of commitment and determination that people are sensing so they could believe in you? Whereas you could just say, yeah, I have a great idea. I think this is going to work. And they're like, yeah, cool. Go ahead and do it. Like, that's what I thought. Yeah. That's what I got out of it. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, major though, because you're right. Like I look at that clip with investors a lot like even when agents or teams scout athletes, right? An investor is not only looking for the best idea or the best business. he's also trying to make sure that he picks the right person. He's investing in you as a person. So as an investor, when you see somebody who's super committed to his business, that he's willing to take almost the last of his money, of his own personal money, to go all in, it's got to show you like, wait, am I missing something? Did I miscalculate the business plan? But even so, I want to be around someone who's that committed. I'd rather take my chance with someone like that and fail, as opposed to go with the super great idea and someone who's not all in. Like I don't mean to compare it to sports too much, but I look at, for example, athletes like J.R. Smith, right? Very talented. But what's the difference between the J.R. Smith and maybe some other players, you know, similar to him, like a Steph Curry and, you know, whomever is in that rank? It's like you look at, in addition to the talent, there's the commitment to the craft. And I'm not bashing JR and saying that he doesn't, you know, work hard, but there's just a certain level of dedication in terms of willing to go all in and really keep it together. And that's why it makes the difference. But no, literally with that whole concept, it's like that principle and that strategy there. It's like, yo, how much are you willing to bet on yourself against all odds? Like literally down to the last dollar, all odds stacked up against you. Can you continue to go all in and bet on yourself?
That's huge. I would love to know in the comments, like, how committed are you with your brand? Like, how committed are you with your business? Like, would you put up all the money at this moment? Would you dedicate all your time to your brand and your business? Like, that may make you think twice about certain things. Like, if you don't have that, like, yo, for what I'm doing at this moment, I give it all up because I know I can make it all the way back. You know, if you do say, yo, you know, I'm betting on myself. I can't expect other people to. It's just comment, yo, bet on myself. I'm betting on myself, right? If you're not, hey, it's just time to be honest with yourself. I'm just saying.
That's tough. That's tough. But I will say this. It seems that the point of maximum resistance is when the biggest reward strikes, right? They say just 4 months later, after making that investment, they launched their fourth successful rocket ship, and he earned a contract from the government for $1.6 billion to fund their SpaceX show.
Let that rock.
Let it go. So it's like, that's a major lesson, right? Like, because it's cool to be at, and again, for those uncomfortable with the numbers, I've learned from a mentor to just subtract zeros until you get to a number that you're comfortable with. Like, if you're thinking about making an investment and the investment for your business is going to take you $150,000, cut off a zero and say, oh, it's 10,500. If you're still uncomfortable, cut off another zero and just work with a number that you're comfortable with, right? But when you think of his like what just happened here, yeah, he's trending around the $150 million mark, whatever, 50 million. But to go from 100, 200 million to 1.6 billion, that's when you just get recognized at a whole new level. It's like you have just become and put yourself in a completely different category, right, of tech entrepreneurs and people of that nature. So it's like, it's just crazy to see, man, at the point of maximum resistance, literally on the verge of just like bankruptcy. You know, this was right around 2008, Nick. So this is when the whole recession and the whole collapse happened. And now he goes into this concept and boom, you know, it really clicks for him. And then a couple months later, he starts with this branding and kind of marketing campaign where he's thinking about, well, what makes the electric car company different, or how is it going to be accepted? And he said, you know what? I'm going to make electric cars not like the eeny bitty, you know, teeny little small cars that we're used to seeing, right. But I'm going to go performance and sport. I want to make the electric car look like the Ferrari. So I'm going to skip for a moment here, but just to go to the marketing piece with our fifth clip, right, where he talks about just how he conceptualized marketing to get people to buy into the idea. Because again, whether it's a product, a service, you know, information, whatever it is that you're doing, you're still going to need people to buy in. Now, what I think is cool about this is that he's not so fancy with it. And You see, we don't have too many clips of us of having him talk per se, because he's not the most entertaining person to listen to always. But listen to what he had to say.
If you're trying to convince the public to do something, you have to say, okay, how's this going to read? And what message are we going to try to convey? What will people respond to? What would I respond to if I was, sort of an objective member of the public? And so that's really, if you're trying to change people's minds or get people fired up about something, then you got to think, okay, what's that message? What's going to get them really excited?
I said, wait a minute, wait a minute.
That's just like disgustingly simple. And you would think and look at it like, nah, that's it. Like, that's all it takes.
Yes.
What parts of that do you feel are relevant, right? Like kind of from a marketing stand and just how you see creativity and things like that. Is it really that simple for like some of us introverts who don't believe the hype? Like, nah, there's no way marketing is that easy. Are certain parts of it really that simple?
So yeah, I would say that some of it is that simple, right? I would say if you're trying to figure out what works, you just got to know what works for your audience, right? Now, how to figure out what works for your audience is a different situation, but he went really basic of, all right, if you think of something and you think it works, go to your audience and make sure it works. Like, I'm like, dude, what? Like, billionaire, hello. Like,
Right.
Can you give me something else? Like, you're giving me the most basic stuff, but I mean, it goes back to some of the advice that I give. Maybe we're seeking a more complicated answer because it shouldn't be that easy, and sometimes it really is. Sometimes it really is just like, yo, just put it out there. Yo, this if you want to figure them out, just what would they like? What do they do? What do they do on a regular basis? Figure that out. And so sometimes, yes, it is that simple. So I can't be mad at him. I'm mad at his monotone voice, but I mean, I can't be mad at him for saying it that simple because maybe the level of success, we're almost expecting a complicated answer. Like because we always overlook the simple stuff. Like you can't tell me just read people. Like,
Right.
Okay, cool. Now I'm going to ask you how. So you told me what to do. Now I'm going to ask how. But the what is normally very simple.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I find it this happens a lot with people who have an opportunity to match talent with skill.
Mm-hmm.
Like what they're excited to work hard toward is what they're naturally gifted to do. Like they didn't fail too much in trying to find what is it that they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, like I don't want to say he struck gold, but he pretty much did, right? It's a rare scenario where he invents a video game at 12 years old, graduates college, and then kind of hits a home run with his first business, right? It's like I've already had more failures in my lifetime, more than he had between 12 and college. But I think that's what happens when you speak to people who have struck it with talent and skill, and it's come to them that easy. They don't know how to really describe it. Like I often ask like certain concepts around either whether it be storytelling or just speaking, even with someone like E.
Right.
For him, because it's come so natural, certain parts of it, he is almost confused. Like, why are you struggling with this concept so much? Like, this is what it is. And of course, after spending time with people, he's so great at reading people that he can better articulate some of those concepts. But that's definitely one of those rare cases where you see that talent and skill are a match, and it just comes off in their mind like, well, that's all I did. And of course, he doesn't do the greatest job of explaining it. But then lastly, final part I want to share before we talk about some of his recent accomplishments, and he's been trending in the media quite a bit, especially through COVID. I mean, he's earned a nice little chunk and change. Let's just say that. while over the last 4 or 5 months. But he was asked this question in an interview in terms of what's the best way to either select a project or to think about this concept of making maximum impact, right? And we can go with that last video there.
Whatever this thing is that you're trying to create, what would be the utility delta compared to the current state of the art times how many people it would affect? So that's why I think having something that makes a big difference but affects a sort of small to moderate number of people is great, as is something that makes even a small difference but affects a vast number of people.
Yeah, so I have no idea what the first whatever phrase whatever phrase it was that he said, but all the part that I picked up on was a small change for a lot of people or a big change for a small number of people. That's what I simplified it down to. It's like, how do you evaluate maximum impact? What is going to create a small shift in a large number of people, or what's a major shift, even if it's for a small number of people, because the change is so drastic, I can make it work. You look at his example of bringing back, and we're going to show you the video in a minute, bringing back the first commercial Dragon back from space, right? Like certain things that he's done, it doesn't necessarily impact a lot of people. There were only 2 astronauts on that spaceship, but it makes a big difference because of how major that impact is. So that's kind of like the biggest part that I took from that, and evaluating, like what works for you. And it's kind of like how you've described it, right? Find out your sweet spot and go with it. What are your takes on that? Anything right there?
No. I'm so confused by what he said.
Something Delta. That's what I picked up on. But
yeah,
it's
yeah. I realized that I learned more about him when other people explained it instead of him talking. When he talks, I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe it's no, I can't say that, because other rich people I kind of understand when they talk. So maybe it's just some innovative rich people I struggle to understand. I think that's what it is. Like really out there, futuristic, like you're not understanding, but then years later you're like, oh, that's what they were trying to do. I get it now, 20 years later, you genius, but I thought you were really dumb and I didn't understand. But I wasn't on your level, so I get it. So I just put him in that kind of category, that he's just a genius. Because if I don't understand you, but you make that much money and you have these companies and it's successful and all that great stuff, I just don't understand. I ain't there yet.
Yeah.
I ain't there yet.
What's the secret behind that though? Like, what's the secret between branding, something that confuses people? Like, I feel like he's doing something, right? Like why he has maximum level of attention off of everything he does. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's just because there really is that number or such a large audience out there that's interested in that kind of thing? Or do you think there's just a natural kind of chemistry that happens around being mysterious that kind of makes people wonder, like, okay, you're stupid, I think you're stupid, but I just want to stick around and see if you're actually going to mess this thing up? Like, what's the secret? Is there any?
So I don't know if there's a secret, but I do know that people look for faults or downfalls and will watch to see if your track record gets broken in some kind of way, whether it's short term or long term. So you think about maybe sports, you look at a Floyd Mayweather, his audience was majority of people just to see him lose, right? So people were watching just to see him lose. When it comes to not understood influencers, I'm always going to bring up Kanye. We watch him just to like, what in the world are you talking about, my guy? Like, right. What? But proven track record of fashion and music, like, okay, maybe we just don't understand, right? But the way the internet is is right now, it's like we always want to have an opinion based off what people say. And then if you happen to have a certain tax bracket, we have a lot more to say based off how much you make, right? Because we want you to be wrong or something like that. And if we could prove that you're wrong, maybe that will affect your pockets later down the road and you won't be as such of an influencer that you are. There's different ways. There's different reasons. I don't know if there's a secret. I think it's intriguing. I think it's intriguing because my biggest thing is who are we to say that they're wrong when there has been proven geniuses that were misunderstood at the time, but 30, 50, 100 years later, we're looking at them saying, man, they were amazing. They were amazing. Cat saying you don't speak nerd. I sure don't. I promise you. I sure don't. But if it's going to make me a billionaire, please, somebody who speaks nerd, talk
Teach me how.
to me. Teach me, and I'm here for that.
For real. For real. Speaking of amazing, though, let's show them that most recent accomplishment, which literally happened a couple of days ago.
Sure.
That had you you had an interesting reaction to that. I mean, we're near the end here. Show the video first, but I think after, let them know the dialogue we had about that.
Are back home in Houston after a historic return to Earth. Their SpaceX Dragon capsule splashed down yesterday in the Gulf of Mexico off the Florida Panhandle. It was the first splashdown by U.S. astronauts in 45 years.
Okay, so hold on. This is an important situation. Okay, I get it, right? When I first heard this story, they made it sound like it never happened before, right? And so I'm like, yo, do we not have astronauts? Like, where's Neil Armstrong? Like, are we not? Like, so do we just call you an astronaut? We bring you up into to the moon and then we never see you, so you die? Like, why is this such a big accomplishment? Where do all the astronauts go? Like, do they don't come back to Earth? Like, now I want to do research on astronauts, because why are we just super happy about these two that got splashed in the water, whereas where are the other ones? Like, but granted, I don't know how often people are like shot up to space. Like, I'm not really sure, right? I would assume we have satellites out there. They may need maintenance in a weird way. Maybe once every 10 years, we shoot somebody up there. I don't know. I don't know how this all plays. I really don't, but I didn't understand. But then at the end it said like hasn't happened in like 25 years or something like that. And I'm like, still, so where do these astronauts go? Like, I don't want to be an astronaut just to die or like
die in space.
I don't where do they go? Why does one of the main things, right, is to be an astronaut, but we only really know Neil Armstrong?
Okay.
I'm just curious. And maybe it's my ignorance. I'm cool with that. My thing isn't necessarily learn all about space. I like stars. That's about it. But do I know all the constellations and all that great stuff? No. So I'm very ignorant to what happens up there as far as how many times there's a rocket or whatever. I don't know all this, but I just didn't understand the importance. I'm just saying.
Well, it's funny. We literally had a laugh about that. We were like, wait, so does that mean all of them just went up and didn't come back? What happened? Yeah, but no, it turns out that there was the first commercial, someone other than NASA, that brought back astronauts.
So NASA been killing it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, NASA been doing their thing,
so
but it's
this-
like NASA's the only real company. So they were the first privately owned company You know?
I'm not a guru in space talk. I'm not a guru in. I don't know all this. I didn't know. I didn't know what the big deal was. I'm cool. I'm cool with it now. Shout out to NASA.
Yeah. They ran a monopoly in the marketplace. They've been the only ones doing it since like it existed. So I guess that's got to stand for something.
So they said 20. This hasn't happened in 25 years. So who did it? Who did it before? Who did it before?
Only them.
So they haven't done it for 25 years?
Oh, you mean like brought somebody
back?
Yeah. That's a good question.
So okay, I'm playing it back. Hold on. This is well, hold on.
I think they said
Back home in
45
Houston,
years.
after a historic return to Earth. Their SpaceX Dragon capsule splashed down yesterday in the Gulf of Mexico off the Florida Panhandle. It was the first splashdown by U.S. astronauts in 45 years.
Right. Okay. There. Rewind. Rewind.
Panhandle. It was the first splashdown by U.S. astronauts in 45 years.
So where did they go?
Yeah, that's a good question. All right, somebody help us out. I'm about to start. That's hilarious.
I just want to know. Somebody said Apollo 13. That was the last time? But where do they go? Somebody enlighten me. How often do rockets shoot up with astronauts and they come back? Like, do they not come back? Do we have astronauts chilling on the moon right now? Like, what are we? I'm so confused. I don't get it. The space station. There's a space station and they're all there, so they never come back. So you're an astronaut.
They definitely come back. Yeah, no, they definitely come back. I think it's the difference. I'm not sure, but I think it's the difference between coming back in something like the unit that they landed back versus coming back in the actual rocket ship. So it's like, I know the rocket ships they land back. That's a normal thing. But the little, that's I'm gonna just stop.
Oh, look, Kurt wrote a whole on July 24th. Let me see if this comes up. Let's see. Does this come up? I think it's. Oh God! Look, this takes over me. Hold on. On July 24th, 1969, Apollo 11 was 47,000 miles from Earth and rapidly accelerating towards its home planet when astronaut Neil Armstrong. See, we only know Neil. Edwin E. Buzz, was it Aldrin? Whatever. And the Michael guy awoke for the last day in space, preparing for their splashdown in the Pacific Ocean, 950 miles southwest of Hawaii. So.
Oh, no, that's an interesting debate. Somebody had to have landed because I know
there was no astronauts after Neil. Like, I'm just whatever. I'm not gonna pretend like I know this. I don't know this. Somebody Google this for me, please. What other astronauts are out there? I thought we had a black astronaut. Are you just becoming an astronaut and not flying? What do we do? I'm so confused. I'm very ignorant to this. I'm not saying I know this part. I know branding. I know social media. I don't know astronauts. I don't know this. Somebody help me, please.
Help me.
Normally it's in the space shuttle. What's in the space shuttle? What are you talking about? So they just chill in the space shuttle? So they don't go to space? They chill in a space shuttle? I don't know. Anyways, look.
Help me.
Well, just end this. It's probably mad expensive. Mad expensive to what? To be an astronaut and not die? What are we talking about? I just want to know what happens to, like, as people are kids, they're like, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an astronaut. But where are these astronauts? Where?
I need to know. That's a great question though. It's like, yo, why is it difficult for
So here we go. Nicole said the Space Center. Where is this space center? Is it on Earth? And why are we calling them astronauts if they never go to space? Why? You just chill in the space station? Is there a space station in space and then you never come back? What is happening? What goes on? They come back and they're
one-way ticket to space?
Is it? So what about your family? Do you never have a family? Like, because I don't know. Whatever. Hold on. The space shuttle. Okay, somebody's coming out. Oh, it's in space. So they never come back. They come back. They come back and they're so tired they go on vacation. But how do they come back if they don't come back through the water? Like we just saw it. They were.
The last one was 20, 30, 40 years ago.
I just want to know. Yeah, I'm confused. And me too. Hold on. This person said, hold on. See if it comes up. Oh, it's one of those things again. The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster was a fatal incident in the United States space program that occurred on Tuesday, January 28, 1986, when the Space Shuttle Challenger, I'm not saying that, broke apart 73 seconds into its space, killing all 7 crew members aboard. So they die. So if you're an astronaut, you die.
But that was at takeoff. That wasn't on the return because they said 73 seconds into the flight. So we know, there have been some that failed at takeoff. But we're talking about, what if they send them out there empty? Like, what if they send the rocket ships out there with no one in them?
What is the point of being an astronaut if you don't go to space? That's like calling me a lawyer and never go to court.
Facts.
Like, so you could just
mock trial.
I'm confused.
That's why they have mock trial.
I'm just confused. I don't get this. Anyways, this was a very interesting last part because I really don't know. I listen, when I know I don't know something, I will say I don't know. This whole last segment, don't even be like, yo, or just say, yo, Nicky really doesn't know what she's talking about. Yeah, when it comes to space, I sure don't know what I'm talking about with space. I have no clue. I never was good at science, space, anything like that. My favorite class was gym. Okay? All right. So I'm just saying. And history when it came to hieroglyphics and stuff like that. Weirdest thing. I don't know why. I was cool with Egypt.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Maybe that's why you and I get along. It's good stuff.
Probably. I got all A's. I'm telling you. But anyways. Okay. Final words about this episode. What's up?
Yo, final words. Bet on yourself. Be willing to run the balance play of innovation.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, bet on yourself and be willing to run that balance play of innovation and fundamentals.
Facts.
That's it.
Look, shout out to everybody who was chilling. Wait, we didn't go. What was he? Hold on.
Oh, that's right.
Oh my goodness. Let's bring this back. Okay. Everybody, first off, we lost a few people because I thought we were going to end. My bad. What do you think this guy, Elon Musk, was or is? I was like he's dead. See, now I'm killing off everybody because I think all astronauts die now. Great, cool. Do you think he was a pilot, a flight attendant, a grounds crew, or air traffic controller? What do you think he is? I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
And I'm gonna take away the usual. I'm gonna get away grounds crew. I'm sorry. Oops, I got the wrong one. It's the easiest one.
Yeah.
It's the easiest one. All right, Tag, you're it.
All right. Yeah. Not much to think about. I'm taking away the flight attendant. We couldn't barely want to listen. Yeah. And I don't know why you thought that he could possibly run as a flight attendant.
Okay.
Explain that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel as if you are not that he was a flight attendant per se, but I felt like he has some tendencies because he would, he's the face of it. Like, he is the most verbal of each move, right? Granted, when you look at his presentations and all that stuff, yeah, never, not whatever. So I get it. Let me get him, let it get it away. Hold on. Because I agree. But I wouldn't be mad if, you know, if that was an option. Yeah, if that was an option. I'm just saying. 2 shuttles have failed in the history in NASA space program. I want to know, do all astronauts die? Hello. I just want to know, if you go to space, do you die? Anyways, I'm not bad.
So I definitely would say, oh wait, no, it's your turn.
It is my turn. So I don't know. You want me to be honest with you? I don't know what he is because he's not interesting to me. So I didn't connect pilot because, granted, okay, so betting on yourself, doing how his business moves, cool, right? But it's just like how he holds himself, like, it's weird. I don't, but yeah. I would say pilot. I wouldn't say air traffic controller because I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I don't know, but that's just me. I would go with pilot. I'll go with pilot.
Really?
I would.
Wow.
I would.
That's interesting.
What did you do?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more. So I actually feel that both of them are his top 2. I would say that, in my opinion.
Okay.
But I feel that he leans more towards the air traffic control, not the pilot. And reason being is, I feel that when you're that in tune with your ideas, you will show up and go to bat for, you know, like for your baby. It's like, yo, I gotta show up and protect my child in a sense. So I feel like that's why I see him more as an air traffic control than a pilot. But
I don't
like,
so,
the dude taught himself how to like engineer and
yeah, the code and all that is weird. Okay, he's super nerd. However, you said it yourself. If I get a whole guap of money based off my first idea, I'm not going to be very quick to give it all the way up for the next idea. You said it yourself.
Right.
So there's certain things that he does. Right. So there's certain things that he does that doesn't show the ATC so much, more of the pilot. But then I'm thinking the innovative ways and everything like that makes me want to say pilot flight attendant because of the ideas and the innovation. So here's more of a question for you. Are ATCs known for innovation? Because I thought, and this is me thinking, that it was more of proven facts in trusted situations than brand new situations.
Yeah, I think so. When you're following a protocol or a procedure, yes, that is when an air traffic controller is going to shine because they're able to follow a path and that was done before and say, okay, I can arrive at the same conclusion. Now,
that doesn't sound like nothing like him.
Yeah, but the unique thing about him here is that he doesn't necessarily, at least with the space shuttle, right? He doesn't necessarily change the makeup of how the rocket ship goes to space. It's more so about cutting its resources or its expenses to get it there at a much cheaper rate than it normally would arrive. So it's like he's cutting cost to get it there, and that's what is making him stand out.
So is that really an ATC kind of vibe for cutting costs? So that's a proven, this works this way. That sounds more like a cheap pilot. I don't want to pay all this, so let's find a way to cut expenses.
He said a cheap pilot. That's hilarious.
My bad. But I mean, I don't feel like. Well, let's put it this way. Let's go with you. I've never known you for cutting cost for something that works or that you know will get us to the next level.
Right.
I know you for justifying the cost or saying, yo, we need to actually spend a little bit more because this is going to give us the system that we need. This is already done. This is what it is. I never heard you in certain situations where you're like, so this works, but if we was to cut this and this, it'd be a lot cheaper. We get the same results. I've never heard you say that.
Well, I guess it would be interesting to see how to respond in a situation with limited resources. That I will say.
My man didn't have limited resources. He had a lot of money.
Well,
he had a lot of money.
To go to space, that money didn't add up when competing with a NASA. But no, I still think those were the top two because he does show the savviness from both sides. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe his personality strikes me more definitely as that air traffic control type because he's just right here. That's all you're gonna see from him.
But
he just talks like that.
But this is the thing. He's big on media. He's been in constant interviews, magazines, all that great stuff. He's not necessarily a behind the scenes person. Mm-hmm. He's out front. I gotta sell the vision. That's what some of the things that I've seen in the interviews were like, I gotta sell the vision. Elon Musk can sell any kind of vision. I don't know how with the way he talks, but he was good at selling the vision. So
it's just like I compare him to a Steve Jobs, where we know definitely Steve Jobs definitely has more of that pilot air traffic control combination, but he at least articulated things in story form. Elon is more so in like a delusional space somewhat that I think he knows it's important, but he doesn't have no one to fill that role. So he's like, well, I guess I'm just going to be out here and I'm going to tweet at everybody and say aliens built the pyramids. That pissed me off, by the way, when he said that. But yeah.
But he does stories too. He says stories too. That's why I'm like, I can't go with ATC too much. I could go with the pilot, which I struggle, but I could go with the pilot. But you can't be so much out there and come up with so many different ideas and execute on it and cut costs the way you did. It worked.
Right.
It did. But like I said, I've never heard you be like,
no, that's definitely not my style. No, I won't even try and pretend.
That's what I'm saying. You're not going to be like, unless somebody tells you got to cut costs, you'll cut costs. But you'll be like, all right, so this costs $2 million. And this costs about $100K. $2 million makes $10 million. $10K makes $500K. We already have $2 million. Like why? I'm gonna go with $2 million. $2 million. Is what I've never heard you go for the cheaper version. You'll understand why we go for the cheaper version. You never are the cheaper version type.
No.
You go with what has been working.
Yeah, no. For me, I think consistent, sustainable results are more important. So I think there's definitely that's probably where him and I differ. It's like he's more on the, well, we're going to do something that hasn't been done before. So surely we don't know what sustainable is. That's not even something that we are pursuing or looking after. Where for me, I'm thinking about, well, yeah, we can make $2 million one time, but what if we made $100,000 a month for 20 years? That sounds like a better, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm always thinking of how can we scale at a sustainable level? So that I think that's where we differ. But the main difference here is that my man is just looking to do stuff that hasn't been done and he believes in life on Mars. Would you live on Mars?
No. No.
I did see that they are
What's there?
in the coming.
But what is
Nothing
there?
yet.
So
Nothing
no,
yet.
I'm not gonna
in
go
the-
somewhere with nothing.
In the coming years, they're gonna be making space travel for just like air travel, pretty much. Would you go to space?
I still want to know where are all these astronauts. Okay? Until I get my answer
You're not
for
going
when
to
you
space.
become an astronaut and you go to space, where do you go? Do you come back? Once I know that answer, I will be all for going for space because I don't mind traveling. I don't mind looking at new places, all that great stuff. But if I think I'm going to go one place and then I'm going to die, hence why I haven't even gone outside. I don't want to die, all right? So space right now to me screams death.
Not a vibe.
It's not a vibe.
Not a vibe.
It's not a vibe at all. Okay. Shout out to Elon Musk and making people go out there and come back safely and all that great stuff. NASA, I need to know your stats. Are you just killing people out there? What are we doing? Like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Why haven't we heard about this? Yeah, why haven't we heard about
why
this?
has it been years of this splashdown? Why? The space station, and yes, you come back. But when do you come back? Why is this the first splashdown? How do they get back? Because there's no... Are there rockets that go and land safely like planes? Do they land like planes? Like, what are we doing? I don't...
I've seen rockets come back, like vertically. I've seen that. I've seen vertical landings of rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why maybe the splash is different than a vertical landing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's it. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, hold on. We're getting answers. Let me get rid of this. We're supposedly getting answers. No, normally it's in the space shuttle. What's normally in the space? What are you talking about, Kurt? This splashdown was done in a space capsule. So space shuttles come back, land like planes? Like, if they land like planes, I'm cool with that. I'm absolutely cool. But, like, they have wheels? Like, I'm confused. Yes, it's what shuttles are, space planes. Okay, thank you. I'm good now. Astronauts go up and come back like planes. I'm cool with that.